So these are the supplies that you will need for processing the saliva after you've collected it. This is 1.5 milliliter centrifuge tubes, which you will need. You will need another 15 ml tube, a 1,000 microliter pipette, and we set it to 500 microliters. And you will obviously need pipette tips also, and a centrifuge. So this pipette is currently set at 750 microliters. Normally we use 500 microliters, so you will just take and spin this right here until it gets to 500. So just a little bit more right there. And then you're all set and ready to go. Okay. So what you want to do first is label your tubes. If you're doing more than one sample at a time, you want to label the tubes with whatever. I don't know what.
Sharpie.
Yeah.
Oh, using your code.
Okay,
Whatever
using your code.
They've decided
Yes.
a code, yeah.
So label them first, and then what you want to do is take approximately 500 microliters of saliva. For the first round, it can be more because all we're doing is going to centrifuge the tubes to get the cell debris and other particles down to the bottom to form a pellet so that we only use the saliva. You want to push the pipette down to the first stop only because there's a second one after that, but that's only for dispelling the liquid.
Are you avoiding the bubbles?
Nope, I'm getting everything.
Oh, okay.
Am I supposed to avoid?
Go ahead.
Okay. So when you portion out your saliva samples, you want to make sure you either have equal number of tubes, or if you don't, I only had 3 tubes that I made, so I need to fill another tube with water so that the centrifuge is balanced. Then what you want to do is just put them opposite one another, like so, and that balances the centrifuge. And tap on, make sure it's fastened tight. And what we do is we spin it for 15 minutes at 14,000. So after the centrifuge is done, you just want to obviously take them out. And what you will see is this was the one with water, so obviously there's no pellet formed. But in this one, you can see that a pellet has formed at the bottom of the tube. So what you want to do is take the supernatant top part for all of the saliva tubes, and you want to recombine it in a 15 ml tube. You want to be careful and to make sure that you do not disturb the pellet, because you do not want any of that when you're processing. Sometimes for this part, it's easier to use a 200 microliter pipette along with those tips because they are smaller and you can get closer to the pellet without disturbing it. So you want to make sure that the pipette is set to 200 microliters, should be fine. So you want to get as close to the pellet as possible without actually disturbing it.
Try not to take the pellet. Actually, don't take the pellet.
Once you have all of the saliva in the tube, you want to just pipette up and down a few times to make sure the solution is homogeneous. Then you want to take 500 microliter portions and aliquot into the... Okay, so once you get toward the end, you sometimes will have one extra tube that is maybe not necessarily the full 500 microliters, but that's perfectly fine.
How many do you get of microtubes from a...
2 ml sample.
Yeah.
You should have, after you're done, you will have these tubes. So make sure you store them at -20 degrees Celsius until you're actually processing them and using them. And make sure you do the sample aliquoting and spinning down immediately after you've collected the saliva. And if that's not possible, store the saliva on ice until you are able to do this process.